One, two, you know what to do.
The special biking skills, and we make Berlin better.
And we still lost.
And then you still lost.
And then we lost. Let's give bread to people. You have the community, I
And you
have the
have
food
furniture,
cart,
and you have
I have the bike
furniture.
cart.
And I have furniture, but furniture is 2. But can I use creative
community
level 1 plus furniture?
Yes, exactly.
And I can actually...
Here?
From waste. So the event card is only in balance.
Right.
You know, whilst the avalanche of these cards, at least, let me just have one reuse something that you don't understand, because if you are given a broken TV,
Cards. We
well,
assume
because
that,
you were checking before, and it's happening from the stage.
Yes. I think the event helped me break many preconceptions I had. When, for example, I was trying to think about how to evaluate the game, what an unusual item, multi-modal item, a game. At the beginning, I was almost panicking. I mean, how can we see that product as an academic product, as an academic production, and what will be the criteria, and how can I possibly accommodate it in the context of a journal? I thought that was a very difficult problem, yeah. But the more I gave myself an opportunity to think about it and relax, I felt there were solutions, yeah. And I felt that actually the medium is inviting lots of new ways of thinking, and it can be itself a method for producing standard academic work. The more I thought about these possibilities, and through the exercises, thinking and writing and talking with my colleagues, I discovered more and more that was not immediately obvious from the surface. And in this respect, I feel that I'm now leaving this event richer with ideas, yes, and more relaxed about how to approach unexpected multimodal production that may come my way, and how better to accommodate them and serve them and curate them. That's a nice word. The losing it's all in order to cultivate a desire to play a game. Yeah.
I will take with me to like my work or to the projects I'm developing at the moment, how important it is to come together with a group of people that do similar things, but maybe from a different perspective or angle, and how important it is to build up this network of appreciation and care, and maybe also to slow down a little bit. And someone mentioned slow science during the workshop, and I think that's what was taken up throughout the 2 days again and again, and I think that's what we really need. Think beyond the project logics, and maybe also beyond the institutional confines, and use the spirit of experimentation and openness in a maybe a little bit slower mode. And through that, work within our institutions as well, slowly carve them out to make them accept multimodality more.
So what I appreciated a lot during this workshop is that we took some time away from the group to think about such works. And I was lucky enough to have this very interesting work, The King of Bangkok, a collaboration between an anthropologist and graphic designers and a linguist by Claudio Sopragetti, Sara Fabri and Chiara Natalucci. It was big fun for me to read this graphic design, but also it was inspiring on how one can communicate an anthropological work beyond academia. And for example, this graphic novel tells the story of a blind person in Bangkok, but through this story one can see lots of themes that are relevant to our work or to my work or to several people's work, which is migration, labor, political activism, power, exercise of power, and so on. The Journal of Social Anthropology is a journal that has a broad scope, and this scope is to reflect the work of EASA members. In this sense, multimodality is becoming a more timely need for the journal. One way that we have thought about responding to this is making a new blog attached to the Social Anthropology Journal that would be a space of alternative ways of publishing our work. And there we would certainly have to think about ways of reviewing processes.
So I'm Vivian Burkhan from Burkhan Books. I'm here as Managing Director of Burkhan Books. We publish books and journals in the humanities, social sciences, especially in anthropology, across a range of anthropology fields. There is now a challenge in terms of the time. I think what came out of this workshop is the amount of different ways and different modes you're having to now be thinking through and thinking about and switching between a text or a film or a clip. So there's a lot going on, there's a lot to digest individually and then to bring it together. So I think there is a very heavy lift that's being asked that I think, I can see the challenge of trying when we're already so challenged to get peer review for just the text part. How do we then approach peer review with all these other pieces going on? And I think there is a real level of intimidation around needing to then think outside of a comfort zone if one doesn't feel one's equipped to make an assessment of a film. I mean, I was really struck by listening to how sort of all of the other pieces were talked about and the insights that were there, and it was so clear that these are coming. It was clear to me how well selected everybody was, and they really came from a skill set that really contributed and really brought important perspectives. But it also made me realize how out of my depth, I could never have provided the insights on those films the way, those two colleagues did, right? So I think it did drive home the importance and the value of, well, the value's obvious, but the importance of having a background and a knowledge of how to think about critiquing a film or thinking about a film. So I think there is a level of that and specificity, which, we also talked about how that can create real obstacles and silos, right, that we also don't want. We want it to be more cross-boundary. So I like the idea of the collaborative approach, maybe, that you have a shared document, a shared peer review that brings together that kind of... Because the discussions we had, I felt like, when we were separate and talking through and our different assessments, I really felt like there was the richness that came out of that collaboration. We were coming from different perspectives and they all came together. So I think that element was really, came out for me, I would say.
The coincidence is that my own activity was to engage with the game. And so definitely that was playful. Definitely that was fun to do. And because the game was the least scriptocentric of all the media that we engaged with, I think it really afforded a different process. A process that was much less centered on the text, which is in the end something that everybody kind of returned to, you know. We do accept the multi-modality of the projects that we've seen, but in the end they kind of all tended to go back to the text, whereas the game afforded a different process. And so I thought that that was really pushing the limits, you know. And I was working with Dimitros, who is a journal editor, and so the dialogue that we had between us was that between, you know, someone who has to return to the text and someone who wants to get away from the text, and I thought that was really productive. The game in itself was a lot of fun. It was fun to discover it bit by bit. We sort of felt that it started in a very slow way, and then we picked up the pace. We experienced affective states, moments in which we engaged with the click of the magnet of the box of the game, for example. So it was really a multisensorial experience as well, and one that carried us away from the text, or at least me. We were dealing not only with issues of valuation, but evaluation, which means a completely different process, I think. And I think the end point that I see in a sort of meta way that all this process has led to is to question the boundaries and the possibilities of what we are currently doing as anthropology, both when it comes to methodological issues, but also when it comes to issues of consumption of media. But then I realized it's actually not the right word. The word that I would use here is metabolization, right? Because it sort of gives the impression of a much slower process, and a process in which you do not just consume, but you also make yours, right? So you transform the knowledge that you get, and you take it and form different proteins with it, right?
My name is Alexa Färber. I'm a professor at the University of Vienna at the Department of European Ethnology. I was really impressed how fine-grained, I think that's the right word, fine-grained the preparation for the different teamworks that we, or assignments that we had to do have been. I am not a very big fan of detailed descriptions of things that I have to do, but I think they were really full of content and for trying to really open up our activities in the best way. So the form that you developed, that we were doing in the dialogic evaluation, I think it's a wonderful form. I like the questions, I like how it's structured, that you have these columns where both, or how many there will be, how many evaluators will be there, would introduce their thoughts parallel. And would definitely talk with each other. I really think that's very helpful, and that that one could use this already now. I also really liked the collegial atmosphere that allowed us to exchange about these things, and that's what I think it needs to make this questions travel, because what is definitely right, that it's a waste of time if everybody starts again and again at the beginning, where you have worked on now for 1.5 years, others have thought only on one part of it before, and so on. So it's really important that this thing travels, and I guess workshop-like situations would be a good form to allow for exchange, integrate, and enthusiast people to take the challenges, theories that are related to this question of evaluation. And I think it's really important to distinguish the different situations of evaluation that might be there, as you did in the test of evaluating, that we should define. So what is it about? Is it about an article? Is it about a PhD? Is it about a project? Completely different situations that need different processes of evaluation.
Yesterday was a big demonstration here, so you can still hear my voice. So I thought, wow, this is so familiar. This is people going out and shouting and trying to do something. So that is that familiarity was a big issue. I don't know much about Slovenia. I wouldn't be able to say how much this film is representational in this case, even though I would trust that it is. But if I had a student, if students do films, and we know what films can do, they can take voices of people and create all kinds of different scenarios. If I had this, I would have to make sure that the film also fulfills the requirements of doing a proper research and contextualizing what they are doing. And also I would like, I think, a text. If a student would do that, and I would have to think about it, I would say, okay, you write me down how you did it, how did you get this idea, who are these people, did they consent, where are the consent forms, what are the consequences for them, why did you do this, what do you want to do, what's your model behind? I think I would do more, maybe have an oral exam or something. But I wouldn't be able to work with this on its own unless it's whatever, something that I'm living in and part of. So I'm exaggerating, but if you speak about immersion, it's the individual who immerses. It's an aesthetic experience. I'm able to understand something, I'm able to get something. So for me this is good, and there's a lot of understanding, but it's really a kind of subjective individual thing. Which is cool, which is great, and you need that. I have to be so transparent. This is not what I'm supposed to do. I have to have modules in my study program, and there has to be a clear description, and there has to be a clear Nachverfolgbarkeit to follow up, accountability for each and everybody to say, oh, this is fair. I want to make sure for myself that I'm having like a methodology that goes beyond the aesthetic, beyond the immersion. So there are these images and contexts around, and where are they in your equation? How do you take them into account?
So remember that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.